part here. What is client? So client is a one of the business entity. Client is a one of the business entity. To run the business in your SAP system, there is a client concept. When you are logging to the SAP system, you are using the clients, either 000 or 001 client you are using, and you are logging to the clients and you are working. So here, client is a one of the business entity. To store the your business data, you need to use the client. Within the client itself only, we need to store the business data. Otherwise, without client, so you cannot. So the data is the client dependent. Some data are the client independent. Some data are the client independent here. So how to create the client here? To create the client, we can use the SCC4 is the transaction code. We can using this transaction code, we can create the client here, right? We can create the client using the SCC4 transaction code, right? So, but before you create the client, the logical system is very important. The logical system creation is very important. Why? Because logical system, to identify the client within the landscape, to identify the client, so within the landscape, you need a you need a you need a logical system. You need a logical systems here. The naming convention of the logical system is like a SID, CLNT, and the client number, right? Suppose your SID, you are creating the client for, you are creating a new client. So then the logical system you need to define like a, suppose like NW1 CLNT. Suppose you are creating for the 900, then you can use the 900 client. So why? Because based upon the logical system, your data will be stored in the client dependent data will be stored based upon the logical systems here. Based upon the logical system, your data will be stored here. Based upon the logical system, data will be stored inside of the client. Why? Because within the system we can create the multiple clients, but database is only one, but table is only one. Then one client you have the Ravi user, one more client you have the Ravi user, both are the Ravi users only. There is a duplicates of the data, right? So then in this case, so that is the reason to store the business data, either any data in the table level based upon this naming convention, based upon the logical system naming convention, the data will be stored here. So which means system is SID is same, but the logical system differentiating the storing of the data. The storing of the data is differentiating by logical system. Data is same, right? Same movie you can download it, but when you are downloading the movie number 2, second movie, the same naming convention, it will create the different naming convention, right? Same name underscore one, or so in the bracket one, something like that, the duplicate file will be created, right? So here also it will store the data based upon the logical system naming convention. So this logical system we need to assign to the client which you are creating in the client administration part. So in the SCC4 transaction code, you start creating the logic client, but it will ask the logical system. Then in the logical system, you need to create or sale or in the logical system, you have to create either sale transaction code, or so in the BD54 transaction code, you create the logical systems. You create the logical systems here. There it will, you use the logical system creation. So then once you logical system creation, then you need to assign to the client, which means before you create the client, logical system has to be created. Then we can assign this logical system to the client. So based upon this naming convention, data will be stored in the table level, right? Why? Because in the within the one system, suppose example, if you see it here, so we have the development system, or within the one system, we can create the multiple clients. Here you have the 000 client, here you have the so 001 client, here you have the 100 client, here you have the so different clients are available, here you have the different clients are available here. So here, so based upon the system, the data which is coming to the your SAP system, so based upon the client number, it will store the data based upon the client, whatever the client, it will store it. But any client, you have the only one database here, one table. So this all the clients data will be stored into the only one table in the one bucket level. It will store it here to differentiate. Why? Because sometimes in the this client data, this client data, this client data may be same. So, but all are saving into the one database and one table level, which means so there is a duplicate of the data. But if you assign the logical system to identify the client within the landscape, if you have the logical system, okay, this client logical system is different, this client logical system is different, this client logical system is different, so both are different. So same entries will be stored into the one table with the different logical system names, it will be stored. So in this way we can identify, okay, this data is related to the this system and this client, this data is related to the this system and this client. So like that, so we can differentiate it like that, we can differentiate it here, right? So client had been differentiated by using the logical system here, right? So logical system, so by using this one, we can create it here. So to use this one, we can log into the system. So by first of all, we need to create the logical system. Either BD54 also we can use it to create it here, logical systems. Otherwise, so you can also use the sale transaction code also, you can use it. But sale transaction code is not the straightforward. Sale transaction code is not the straightforward here. You need to go to the so basic settings, then logical systems, then so define the logical systems here. Then you will go to the this screen here. Instead of that, directly you can use the BD54. You will directly go to the same transaction code. Why you have to navigate from one to other? We have the one more transaction code that is called the so BD54 transaction code is available. You can use the BD54. Okay. So here the multiple things are already created by the our guys here, right? So just click on the create the new entry, then logical system naming convention, right? Suppose like NW1 CLNT, suppose 400 client you are creating, then 400 client you can just name it here, right? Just this naming convention is the mandatory. This name you can give anything, right? Just add it, it's already there here, 400 client. So what I can do, so NW1 CLNT 401, NW1 401. Click on the save button. Save. Right? So logical system got created here. You can see logical system maybe somewhere here. See here all our people are created here. Logical systems here. Proper naming convention you need to create it here. 401 somewhere. It got created here, right? It got created here, the logical system name. So once you create the logical system name here, this is a save button. Okay, this is a new entry for adding. This is a changes. If you want to remove the entries, just you can use the select it, then you can use the delete button. So it will be deleted here. Okay, that option we have to use it here. Okay, so that is the here. And suppose now client creation, right? So now client creation. So client creation. So what is the transaction code? SCC4. SCC4 is the transaction code for the client creation. We have to do it here. Client creation, we have to do it using the SCC4 transaction code here. See here. Oh my God, lot of clients are there in SAP systems here. Means our guys are created here, all these clients. But by default, you will get only 000001 clients you will get. Remaining all are created by the our guys as part of the testing here, right? So that they have done it here. So now what we can do, we can to create the new client, go to the edit mode, change mode. Okay, then take the new entry, right? So client, what is the client number? 401. So this is the from dev client or something, you can make it here. So city, Hyderabad client, this is the logical system now. So earlier you created the one logical system, right? That you have to provision here, that you have to create it here, right? So what is the client number? Same logical system you need to provide it here. If you provide the different naming convention, that will be a so clash, right? So same naming convention. So that's why while creating the client, logical system field is there. Here you cannot create it. Then you need to create first logical system. Then you need to browse that logical system here, right? The logical system, you need to browse it here. So here, so you created the currency. Our currency is India currency or INR. Then client role here. So what is the role of the client here? Which system? So here the system differentiation. Sir, we installed the one SAP system, one more SAP system, one more SAP system. Then in that case, which one is the development? Which one is the quality? Which one is the production here? Then how to name it, whether how the system knows here, how we knows which one is the production. So depends upon the client role here. The client role which you are making as a production, that is the production system. The client role you are making as a test, that is a test. Customization, development system, demo system, training system. So SAP reference system, whatever you want to make it, you can make it. So the system which you are making as a production system, so that time, so it will be very safely we need to use the system here. Why? Because production system means business will start use that system here. So sir, the last 2 days, 3 days onwards, we are discussing here in the landscape. We have the development system, quality system, production system, development system, quality system. We have the production system. Then we are just telling like this is a development, this is the quality, this is the production, like that. We are just telling in our conversation, theoretical conversation, we are telling. But how the system knows, how the other people knows, you are just assuming here how the other people knows here, right? By choosing the by checking the client role here. In which system the client role is the production, that system is the production system. In which system role is the test, that is the set system. Customizing means development system. So depends upon the client role, that system is like, is it which environment? Is it a development environment? Is it quality environment? Is it production environment? Depends upon the client role here. The role will identify, the client role will identify here. Okay. So here, so we can choose this one here, test system or training system, whatever it may be. So then this is the import, this purpose only. So we created the logical system here. This purpose only we created the logical system in the system, logical system, right? So then here you have the options here. Client, you have the options like, so client changes here, client specific object changes, cross client changes here. In your SAP system, if someone wants to change something, right? Suppose they want to do the some development changes, they want to change the program changes, they want to do some changes. So, so if the system is allowing for everybody, then so it will be dangerous, right? So that is the reason, if you change the status to the no changes are allowed, then no one change anything in your SAP system. Means no one do any program changes, repository changes, object changes, no one do anything in the your SAP systems here. No one do anything here. But because it said you changed the client settings to no changes are allowed. This is the client specific changes. So cross client changes also there. If you make it like no changes to the repository objects, no changes to the cross client object, customizing objects, so no repository, no cross client, and so changes are allowed. Which means if you make it the changes are allowed, if you make it the changes without automatic recording, they can do the changes, but there is no record. There is no record what they have changed and everything. If you make it the record of the changes, they will we can track it what changes they have trained, they have changed it. So what caused the issues and everything we can track it here. So no changes are allowed means they cannot do any changes in the SAP systems. They cannot do any changes in the SAP system here, right? Changes without automatic recording means so there is no automatic recording and no transports are allowed here, right? So these options we can use it here. Production, always we have to close the settings. Production should be like this. So non-production systems we can open the changes here. Non-production means changes we have to do it. Development, we need to do the changes, right? That is the reason we need to automatic recording of changes, and changes to the repository and the cross client are allowed like that. We need to keep it here. We have to keep like this here in the systems. Okay. So then protection levels, client copy protection levels, these are the not mandatory, but these two things are the important here. It depends upon your system use case. If it is the production, it should be closed status. Production always should be closed status. Why? Because people, they cannot do any direct changes in the production. But because if they do the changes, then what is the use of we have the development system, quality system, regression testing, and all those things, right? We don't require. If they directly, if you allow the changes in the production. So anyone, they cannot do any direct changes in the production. They have to come from development, quality, production. If you do the changes, if you put the production into the allowed list, what they will do, then whoever having the access to your SAP system, all your finance data will stay, all your finance data will be in the, all will be in your finance data in the same system, right? Same system. So people will log in, they will go to the table level SE16, where your financial data storing. Suppose one of the table, it is storing the financial data, suppose like user master table. So there they can go ahead and they can edit the salaries table, finance table, they can edit it. They will do the credits, debit options. So it will create the dangerous options here, right? That is the dangerous option here. So that is the reason, that is the purpose here. So that is the purpose here. People will use people will not do the direct changes in the system. So if you make these settings to the no changes are allowed, then if you make the changes to the no changes are allowed, then people cannot do any changes in the SAP system, any company code, any organization levels, any changes cannot be performed. If you allow people to change it, that will be a dangerous option, right? But because anyone can do any changes in the directly in the production, it will create the some noise. So that is the reason. So anyway, we have to follow the procedure. First, any changes in the development, then the same changes will come via transport request to the here, and same changes we should go to the production system via transport request, which means you can do the manual changes here in the development. So development, you can do the changes here, then same way, so we can do the development changes here. Then we can move to the quality. Then quality to production, we can do the changes here. So that kind of things we can do it in the systems here. That kind of things we can do it in the systems here, right? So this is the organization, the process flow. So if you want to do any changes in the production, any tab changes, any color coding changes, it should come from development. Development, you can do the development work. So then you can move to the quality, then testing is done, then you can move to the production you can move it. So that way we have to come. So sorry, I have to change it here directly. I can log in and change it to the here, right? Then it's a 2 minutes job. I can directly log into the here and I can change it, right? You can change it, but your company will not allow you to direct changes in the production. Why? Because it's a policy, organizational policy, and also we have to We have the other systems also there. If you do some changes, something is happens, there is a loss for business, right? So that is the reason customer will not allow direct changes into the production. So you need to use the development, quality, and production systems. We have to allow direct quality, development, quality, production systems. We have to allow the changes here. That is what. So we have to do it here in the current administration side. Okay. So that is the reason production always. So take a note, production always we have to close the changes here in the production that should be always close the changes, and the quality development other systems we should be open. The development always open, remaining side it should be closed status. Just to take a note, development it should be open, the client settings will be open. Then quality, so regression or production systems, it will be closed status here. Okay, that's what we have to do it in the systems, right? That is the way we have to create the client. So client settings are very important here. Okay, so logical system and client settings here. So that is the one thing. How to create the client means using the SCC4 transaction, we can create the client. But before creating the client, there is a logical system. Logical system. So we have to create it. The naming convention of the logical system is like a SID, CLNT, and client number. We have to use it here. SID, CLNT, client number. So this one we have to assign to the client in the SCC4. So while creating the client, you have the options, client creation options here. Edit mode, click on the new entry. Then we have the client options here. These settings are very important here. The role, client role is very important. Client currency is very important. If you are creating the UK currency, then there is a Europe or something like that, right? Euros, client currency is the euros. Then client city, all those things we have to make it. If you use the euros, is the US client, then dollar or something, US, something like that, USD, US dollar, something like that. We have to, so we have to make it here, right? Depends upon the client to where the client location, client customer location, customer currency, customer business. If it's an Indian client, then we can make it as a IN, Indian rupee, INR, right? So it depends, right? Client role also, the system which you are creating, is it production system, development system, quality system? Depends on that, we can create the, so respective systems we can create it here, right? That is the client creation here. Okay. So then, sir, client creation is done. Now the next step is the how to log into the newly created client. How to log into the newly created client here, right? How to log into the newly created client. Sir, I have created the new client, that is the 401 400 I have created. Then how can I log into the, how can I log into the, how to log into the, so newly created client, how to log into the newly created client here, how to log into the newly created client here, right? How to log into the newly created client here, right? But because we created the client, like suppose you created the client like a 401, then only client you created, then which user I have to use it, which password I have to use it. If I use the DDIC, then it will not work. If I use the basis user, it will not work. If you use the SAP star user, it will not work. Then which user? Only client creation you have now, you have done. Then to log into the newly created client, there is a procedure. There is a procedure we have to follow, which means we need to change the one parameter. We need to change the one system settings here, right? So let me explain. Shall I explain or will you guys practice? Till now, whatever we discussed, the client creation, logical systems.
Sir, we'll practice, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, once explain, it's better, right?
Explain, sir. No problem.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Because this is, it will take time, this concept. Okay, I will explain it. Don't worry. I will also explain tomorrow also. I will give a glance. So how to log into the newly created client here? Sir, we created the client, then we can use the same user, right? Whatever the user you used in the 001, as of now we are logging to the 001 client and basis user, some passwords we are using. Can't we use the same user? No, you cannot use it. Why? Because so the user administration, the users and passwords are different client by client, client by client. So we cannot use the same password, whatever the user password you are using for other users, same passwords we cannot use for this client. So we need to create the users here. So here, so SAP star or DDIC also not allowed here. But so we have to log into the newly created client. So we have to enable the emergency user. Emergency user we have to activate it. That is called the SAP star and pass is the password. The password is the pass. So we have to enable the emergency user. So how to enable the emergency user? By changing the one parameter. By changing the one parameter. So that the new concept within the client copy, few additional new topics will come. So one is like a, so this is the one. So one is like a profiles and parameters. Profiles and the parameters concept. Profiles and parameters concept here. So here the profiles and parameters. Why? Because we know we need to know we need to change the one profile parameter. We have to change it, right? That is called the login slash no underscore automatic underscore SAP star equals to 0 or 1. There is settings, then we need to change it. Then you are allowed to log in. Once you do these changes in your system and do the restart, then you are allowed to use the SAP star with pass. You can log into the newly created client. So, but you have to change the one parameter here. But first of all, what is parameters? What is profiles here? So parameters are system settings, right? Normally, when you purchase the new mobile from the shop, company will give you the default settings, default volume, default theme, default image, default ringtone. So defaultly you will get all those things. Then later, so when you got mobile phone, you will switch on, you will change the ringtone, you will change the color, you will change the photos, you will change all those things in the settings tab. Every mobile there is a settings tab. Then you will go, you will change it as per your requirement, as per your business requirement. You will adjust your mobile phone settings and everything, right? Even your mobile phone only you are doing this much of settings, but why can't we do it in the systems, SAP systems, right? In SAP system also we can do these adjustments, right? So that is the reason SAP given this concept is called the profiles and parameters. So system parameters we can change it by using the RG10 and RG11 transaction codes. So they are the two transaction codes where we can do the changes of the system configurations. Normally in the mobile phone settings tab, in the SAP level RG10 and RG11, this two transaction codes help to do the system configuration changes. Suppose if you want to do the theme changes in the mobile, go to the settings, then there is some theme or image. Let's click on that one. You can select your own thing, and sometimes you may have to restart your system. Here also, if you do the changes, sometimes we may have to restart our SAP system also to affect the changes, right? So this way, this is the purpose we have to use so this profile parameter changes, we have to use it here, right? So means if you want to change any profile, not only this, only one profile here, one parameter here, this is the parameters, right? So like that, you have the lakhs of parameter, tons of parameters we can do changes in the one simple transaction code RG10, RG11. So before that, so concept is called the profiles and parameters. In the system level, if we want to do any configuration settings, we want to increase the work process, if we want to decrease the work process, we have so profiles are there here, right? They are so two types of profiles. There are the two types of profiles are there in the SAP system here. One is the default, all the default related things are available here. The default SAD, default client, default language, all are the default. So next one is the instance profile. Instance profile. In the instance profile, like a instance level, like one is the in the instances, we have the two types of instances. So how many types of instances will be created when the time of installation? How many types of installations will be created during the time of installation?
Two, sir.
What are
Zero.
those?
1011.
1011. What is that?
ACS and PAS, sir.
Yeah, if someone asks you, then you need to tell like one is the ASCS instance, second one is the application server profile, right? Application
sir.
server profile means the instance number will be created, right? Or application server profile. So here, same as like in the profiles also, ASCS means message server, enqueue server related settings. If you want to do the settings of the message server, enqueue server settings, you can do it in the ASCS profile. Profiles contains the parameters. Parameters of the like this, we have the parameters. Then application server. So if any application server, we have the dispatcher and the work process, SAP buffers, all are available. So if you want to do any specific settings related to the application server, then you need to use the application server instance profile, specific profile, we have to use it here. So what we have to do, we need to log into the system, not this user. Any user you can log in. Suppose basis user we have 001. Then go to the RG10. So here select the profile parameter. So which profile parameter? So this is the our profile parameter. So then, so we have to go to the extended maintenance. So this is for the settings. So you have to select the extended maintenance, click on the display. You can see the profile parameters here. So this profiles contains, so we have the two types of profiles here. These all are the old profile, we can delete it. So it does not require this parameters. Let me delete. You will get confused. Normally we did the rename option, so that's why we got these profiles, but it does not require all versions. Okay, so now you see three profiles here. One is the default. So types of profiles, default profile and instance profile. In the instance, we have the two types of instances will be created. One is the ASCS instance. Second one is the application server instance. ASCS and application server instance here. ASCS and application server instance here. So if you see the default profile, the default related settings, what is the SID, what is the global host name, what is the password character, what is the message server, what is the like all the default related settings are available here, right? So but I want, suppose like I want to change the work process, then work process are available in the instance, like application server profile. Then you can go to the here, then you can change the value of the dialog work process 524, 423. So like that also we can change it here, right? So suppose I want to increase the dialog work process to 5 to 50, then I can change the value of here. The parameter value I can change it here. So 4 to 3, I can change it here. Then the value will be affected here. So I don't want to 4, so I can just make it the 5 to 4 I can make it, then I can make it. Then click on the copy button, go back, then save it, then activate it. Activated, the profile parameter will be activated here. We want to activate the profile. Yes, it is activated. Then, but only thing is the we have to restart the application server. We have to restart the application server here, right? Then only the value will be affected. So, sir, I have changed the profile parameter to 5 to 4. So then If I see my dialog work process, it should be 4, right? Why still showing the 5? Which means you need to restart the system. You need to restart the system to affect this value, right? So like that, so we have to do the changes in the system. So here they are the profiles. So there are the two types of profiles here. We can change the specific instance related profile parameter. We can change it here. Either if you want to increase the work process related things, then so you can here rdisk flash no underscore. So rdisk flash wp underscore nmo underscore dialog. So here whatever the value you mentioned, that is the one. So if you want to change the background work process, then rdisk flash wp underscore nmo underscore so btc nmo underscore btc to 30. If you maintain 30, then the value of the parameter value will be changed to the 30. Okay. So here the value will be changed, whatever the value you maintain. So any system related configuration, if you want to do the changes, you need to go to the RG10 and RG11. Sir, why these two transaction codes again? One is enough, right? Yeah. This is for the permanent changes, but you need to restart the system to affect the values. This is called the static parameters, right? RG11 is so temporary changes here, but you no need to restart. Opposite, you don't need to restart the system. You don't need to restart the system here. So it's a parameters are the dynamic parameters are the dynamic values here. Static and dynamic values here. Static parameter and dynamic parameters here. Okay. So RG10 is the permanent, RZ11 is the temporary, but not all the parameters are, we cannot change it here. Only few are there, those parameters we can change it in the RG11. Few are there, those we can change it in the RG10 here. RZ10 we can change it here. RZ10 we can change it here. That is called the permanent changes and temporary changes. We can do it here. RG10 and RG11 here. So people may ask you the question like, what is the difference between the RZ10 and RZ11? RZ10 is the static and RG11 is the dynamic. Dynamic means it's a temporary only. You no need to restart the system. RG10 is the permanent changes, but you need to restart the SAP system to affect the values, right? In our mobile phone also. So if you do some changes, it will ask the restart. Rarely, right? So, but sometimes it won't ask the restarts. So it will affect immediately. Maybe theme changes, ringtone changes, something like that. Suppose like if you want to do some other developer settings, if you do some changes in the mobile phone, so it will ask the restart, right? Then only the values will be affected. Same kind of symptoms are here. There we will use the tabs here. Here you will use the transaction codes. Here we will use the transaction code to do the changes in the systems here. Okay, it is called the RG10, RG11. Sir, where we are? You are explaining about the entire profile parameter concept. So there are all the any parameters we want to do the changes. We can go to the RG10. So then select the profile. So almost only instance profile. So then go to the extended maintenance, click on the change mode. So the parameter which you are looking is not there here, right? Click on the create the parameter. Then what is the parameter name? If you don't remember the parameter name, just click on the browse button. Then search it out. What is the parameter? Suppose like login slash, right? Login slash accept ticket. There are multiple parameters are available. So disable the multi-user login, create the session, failure to user the log, minimum password, minimum characters. So normally when you are resetting the password, minimum one uppercase, lowercase, letter, special characters, right? So if you do this parameter changes, so the same settings will be applicable for the our system also, right? So then login slash no underscore automatic underscore user star here. So which means this is the parameter value here. So normally this is the default one parameter. It should be default one is configured. That's why whenever you are logging to the SAP system, if you use the PASS, you are allowed. Why? Because so we have to make the changes to the, so one is there. If one is there, we have to make the changes to the 0. The value should be 1, which means SAP star with pass is not allowed. SAP star with pass is the parameter value is not allowed. Then you need to make to the 0, copy, go back, copy, 2 times copy, and save, activate. Okay, save and activate, then the value will be affected. But to affect the particular application server, you need to restart the application server. Means SAP system, we have to restart it here. SAP system, we have to do the restart. So this is the way we can do the profile parameter changes. Sir, can we do it in the same in the RG11? So RG11, we cannot do the same changes here. If you use the login flash, no underscore, automatic underscore, user underscore, SAP star. This is a parameter value. If you do the changes here, so if the parameter value, there is a change value, change button is coming, then that is the dynamic parameter. See here you have only display option. You have only display option. There is no way to change the parameter value here in the RG11. So here there is no way. So means this is not the dynamic parameter. This is a static parameter, which means we have to do the changes here. So display value means, suppose here if I do something like GW second for, there are some parameters here, right? There is a second for some gateway parameter, ACL mode. So you see change value is coming, the change value. So from here means you can do the changes from here as well. You can do the changes from here as well, which means this is a static, this is a dynamic. But so these changes are not the permanent here, which means this is the dynamic, changes are not the permanent here. All right, temporary only here when you do the changes here. If the change value is coming here, that is the dynamic parameter. But change value is not coming, that is the static parameter. So this is the one way to check whether the parameter is static or not, whether the restart is required or not. Way to check means in the RZ11. So put the parameter name. If you only display value is coming, then that is called the static parameter. If you are getting the change value option, then that is called the static parameter. That is called the dynamic parameter. That is the dynamic parameter option. Okay, static and dynamic parameters options here. Okay, so same as like we want to, if we want to allow to log in newly created client. If we want to allow people to log in newly created client, then there is a parameter you need to change, like so by changing the parameter to 0. It is the one you need to change it to the 0. Then you can log into the newly created client. How to change it? Go to the profile, extended maintenance, change button. What is the profile value here? So if you don't find here, there is no value here. Normally it is there here. Suppose you don't see it here, right? Then you can go to the create the parameter. What is the parameter name? You don't remember that parameter also. I only remember the first name. Then star, set it here. You will get the all the parameters values. You will get it on. Which are there in the name of login slash. All the parameters will be available here. Failure to user lock, minimum password line. So our parameter is so no underscore automatic underscore. It should be 1. So but we have to change it to the 0. Then save it, go back, save it, go back 2 times, copy, then save it. So then restart the activate and restart the system. then the value will be affected here. So then once you restart the SAP system here, once you restart the SAP system, so you are allowed to use connect to once you restart the system, then you are allowed to log in with the any newly created client. Initially, so we are not sure what is the password we have to use the newly created client. Now you can use the SAP star with PASS, you can use it. Then you are able to log into the newly created client, right? Now you logged into the newly created client 401 client, you logged in with SAP star. So this is the first user you need to log in with the newly created client. Why? Because we don't have any other users. But how to activate the emergency user there? By changing the parameter. So what is the parameter? This is the parameter value. We have to change it here, right? So parameter, not only this parameter, any system settings related things, we need to do it in the RG10, RG11. So these two concepts are called the profiles and parameters. Profiles contains the parameter. The value, if you change it in the profile, so then that will be affected. Then if you restart the system, the value will be affected. Then you can log into the newly created client here. Okay, that is the profile parameter concept. Okay, so you need to create the client logical system. Then you can log into the newly created client with the SAP star with the pass. You can log into the newly created client. I have changed the profile. You can revert back to the 1. Then later again, you can change it to the 0. You can try with this approach. You can also use the profiles parameter concept. Again, I will explain it tomorrow. So don't worry. So just you can just practice it. Whoever got some information, so RG10 and RG11, just you can try to change the profile parameters. Some profile parameters you can try to change it with the login parameters. So some other things you can change it. Okay. Okay. So any questions, anyone?
Sir, here R display and backslash or WP, what is that, sir? Like,
This is the parameter. This is the
Okay.
work process parameter. If the work process number for dialog, so now 5 is there. If you change it to the 60, then 60 dialog work process will be created in your system. So, but if you change this value to the 5 to 1, only one dialog work process will be there in your system. So this parameter will define the how many number of work process should be active or running in your system. This parameter will tell you. Same as like BTC, same as like VB1, VB2, update 1, update 2, NQ, WP underscore N1 underscore NQ, WP underscore N1 underscore update, WP underscore N1 underscore BTC. So like that, these are the work process related parameters. This is the login / related parameter. Like that, any number of lakhs of parameters are there in the RG10. So based upon the your business use case, based upon the recommendation, you need to change that respective process only. We have to change it here. Respective process only we have to change it. But don't change the default value like instance members, host names. If you change it, system won't start. So that is the one thing here. Before you start, take the profiles backup. I will take the profile backup, then you can do the changes. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.